Well, the big story we're tracking at this hour, something that would concern all parents. France's National Health Agency has discovered traces of dangerous chemicals in disposable diapers for babies across various brands. But U.S. consumer products group Procter & Gamble has, however, denied the findings, claiming that their products have always been safe. Several tests conducted by the health agency found substances that are potentially dangerous to human health, including the controversial weed killer glyphosate. But what is glyphosate? Well, marketed under the name Roundup in the US, it is widely used but has been a frequent target of health and environmental campaigners after a World Health Organization study classified it as probably carcinogenic. Now, the French government has asked the manufacturers and retailers to ensure that substances are removed from the diapers.
Alors, je tiens quand même à rassurer les parents. Aujourd'hui, l'ANSES dit bien qu'il n'y a pas de risque immédiat pour la santé des enfants. D'ailleurs, je pense qu'on le verrait puisque tous les enfants du monde entier portent des couches, donc il n'y a pas de risque immédiat. Mais ce que dit l'ANSES aussi, il faut l'entendre, c'est que, étant donné la présence de ces produits toxiques, ils ne peuvent pas non plus exclure un risque pour la santé des enfants sur le long terme. Et donc, c'est pour cette raison-là que, par précaution, nous souhaitons mieux protéger nos enfants de risques éventuels que l'agence de sécurité ne peut pas totalement exclure.
Bien évidemment, c'est très inquiétant. Ils sont nourrissons, ils sont très petits, donc on sait de toutes les façons que ça concerne les couches, les lingettes, tout ce qui est, il y a trop de produits chimiques dedans. Et je pense que c'est très mauvais pour les enfants.
Well, the Environment and Finance Ministers of France have issued a joint statement calling on the manufacturers and retailers to take measures within the next 15 days to eliminate the harmful substances from the baby diapers. And Elena is now joining us live from Paris for the very latest on this. Elena, well, this really affects major brands like Procter & Gamble. What more are you hearing on this from both the manufacturers as well as the government?
Yes, it affects 23 major brands which were tested in the study that was carried out. Now, the government is saying that these chemicals need to be removed and that the products containing them need to be off shelves within 2 weeks, as you were saying there, even in very small doses on the level of nanoparticles. These substances, which include dioxins of the type more usually found in cigarette smoke or in diesel fumes, could be dangerous to babies' health. And apparently they're getting into the nappies via some of the manufacturing processes, including the gluing together and the bleaching, which is using chemicals that are, even in trace amounts, dangerous. So the government, as you heard there, is saying there isn't an immediate danger to the health of babies, but these products will be removed from shelves within the next couple of weeks to try and calm the concerns of parents.
Right, Alina, thanks very much indeed for joining us with the latest there on that. The government asking these to be removed in the next 15 days. Alina, thanks for that. In other news now, India has been steadily growing concerned over the presence of the Chinese Navy in its neighborhood. And to heighten surveillance in the Indian Ocean, the Indian Navy will open a third air base on the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. The Indian Navy will set up surveillance of Chinese ships and submarines entering the Indian Ocean through the nearby Malacca Straits. China is building commercial ports stretching from Sri Lanka to Pakistan that India fears could become naval outposts. The Indian Navy Chief Admiral Sunil Lamba will commission the new base called INS Kohasa, about 300 kilometers north of Port Blair. The facility will have a 1,000-meter runway for helicopters and Dornier surveillance aircrafts. Both India and China have been locked in a contest for influence, with New Delhi trying to push back against Beijing's expansive diplomacy in the region. And well, as tensions between China and Taiwan mount, the island is pushing to counter China's increasingly muscular rhetoric and military exercises. Taiwan's Navy has displayed its latest long-range surveillance drone as well. And despite Taiwan being ruled separately since its split in 1949 after civil war, Beijing considers it a part of its territory and has been pushing for its reunification. China has even asserted that it does not rule out the use of force in case Taipei declares independence formally or there is an external interference. The tensions between the two sides touched a new high at the start of the new year when Chinese President Xi Jinping described island's unification with the mainland as inevitable. Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen has hit back, saying her people would never relinquish their democratic freedoms and instead urged China to embrace democracy. The self-ruled island has its own currency, flag and government, but it is not recognized as an independent state by the UN. The island's military has hosted multiple drills since Xi's speech, emphasizing what it says is a readiness to counter any invasion. And the Navy showed off its new long-range surveillance drone, the WION, which officials said can fly for 12 hours and was now helping to monitor movements in the disputed strait between Taiwan and China. Taiwan's American F-16 and aging French-made Mirage fighters jets are also being increasingly called upon to respond to military movements from China. However, analysts warn the fleet is getting worn down and lacks crucial spare parts. And well, after Pakistan blocked India's flights to Afghanistan, the chairman of the Indian air carrier SpiceJet, Ajay Singh, has expressed hope that the matter will be resolved soon. Remember, the Indian government has already communicated with the Pakistani Foreign Ministry about its displeasure. Let's listen in to what Ajay Singh said.
Recently, the problem has come to notice that SpiceJets and cargo flights have been stopped by Pakistan flying over to Afghanistan. So, what is your reaction here? Do you think it will solve soon?
These are temporary issues. Overflying is something which is a sovereign right, but never denied to each other. And we are confident that Pakistan will soon permit Indian flights into Afghanistan.
And well, in a blatant violation of civil aviation norms, Pakistan has been halting Indian flights to Afghanistan. Talking about the recent incidents, Pakistan's Civil Aviation Authority denied passage to SpiceJet cargo flights to Afghanistan thrice in the last week of December and then on January 11th and 14th. Given the repeated instances of violation, India has also sent a note of bail to Pakistan, lodging a strong protest. The move comes even as New Delhi has been trying to connect landlocked Afghanistan with India and the rest of the world. Notably, Pakistan has been blocking the land route for trade between India and Afghanistan. And India-Afghanistan Air Corridor, launched in 2017, connects Afghanistan with Delhi and Mumbai, and the Chabahar port, being built in Iran with India's help, also provides Afghanistan's goods gateway to the world. And India plays a significant role as a development partner, with its assistance exceeding $3 billion. New Delhi is Afghanistan's largest donor in the region. Sumit is now joining us live from Davos with the very latest on what Ajay Singh, the SpiceJet CEO, had to say. And Sumit, well, Ajay Singh, of course, hoping for the best for SpiceJet and other airlines as well. But this will be a tough task for airlines if this the airspace is not opened up in the next couple of days as expected by India.
Well, it can be a problem, but in the short term, because in the long term there could be solution in sight, and there could be solution which could be found out. Well, SpiceJet chairman, I spoke to him and he told me that it's possible that the solution will be found very soon. Though SpiceJet has recently started the cargo flights, it's the only private carrier that flies to Afghanistan, and not only it flies passengers but cargo also. So they are hopeful that the problem will be solved soon and some solution will be brought out very soon on this matter, because it's a matter of airspace, and all these global countries, they take airspace very clearly. It could be a quid pro quo if India also start doing things. The Pakistan flights flying over to China, there could be problems. So these things are taken very seriously by all nations across the globe, because these matters are not very small matters. These are very, very serious matters. Flying over the countries are allowed by one country to the other country. Remember, only war times, sometimes it happens that flights are stopped over on using the airspace, but generally it doesn't happen. That's why Ajay Singh was hopeful it will be solved very soon.
Right, Sumit, and of course Sumit also is in Davos and is speaking to all the top business leaders and world leaders there, and he also caught up with the International Monetary Fund chief economist Geeta Gopinath. Let's listen in.
We're joined by IMF's chief economist Geeta Gopinath in Davos here. Thanks for talking to us, Geeta. And first of all, a lot of discussions happening around the world economy, Indian economy. What is your outlook for global economy? Because a lot of is being said about the slowdown, impending slowdown in the world economy. What do you think about it?
So our outlook is that global growth will slow in 2019. But it's going to be a modest slowdown, so it's not going to be a very dramatic change. We're certainly not staring at a recession right now. And so while there is reason to be concerned, I don't think it's like we're hitting the panic button at this point.
About India, because the elections season is here, a lot of SOPs could be there, a lot of other schemes could be there. What do you think about the Indian economy? Will it get hurt by this? What do you say on that?
The Indian economy we forecast will grow at around 7.5% in 2019, which makes it one of the fastest growing large economies of the world. I think it is very important for India to stay on the fiscal consolidation track. We haven't seen much of an improvement in that over the last 5 years. I'm talking about the consolidated budget right now, the center and the state. So policies that raise expenditures by a lot, I think, would not be good for the Indian economy.
Okay. One last question. Global trade wars. What is your viewpoint on the global trade wars?
We are really hoping to see an end to it because it is having a negative impact on the economy, and it is one of the biggest risks going forward.
All right, and in fact, Sumit is still with us on this, and let's just go back to him. And Sumit, there, Geeta Gopinath talking about the Indian economy being robust but needs fiscal consolidation to move forward, and also roughly touching on the trade wars. That's been an overwhelming concern at Davos. How are things going about in Davos as of today?
Well, it's a third day, and definitely the big concerns are being talked about. One big concern is global trade war, and here every participant is concerned because uncertainty about the policies is something which all businessmen they fear about. And here also they are discussing these uncertain times because of Trump taking decisions which hurt China first, and then China reciprocates. That hurts global economies. India, we spoke to Indian CEOs, and they are quite hopeful that this could have some positive thing only for India. Well, as far as our global trade wars are concerned, well, that is something which anything can happen any day. Well, China and US, they were supposed to come at this platform. Donald Trump, President US, was supposed to meet Chinese president, but he did not come here.
Right.
And Chinese vice president is here. So a solution in sight could have come out of Davos discussions, but
right.
Trump did not arrive. And clearly there is no solution in sight, or there is no as big solution in sight as was expected from this forum here in Davos.
All right, Sumit, thanks very much indeed for joining us with the latest there. And while staying with news from China, and it's also detained a Chinese-Australian writer, Yang Hengzhu, who went missing after arriving at China's Guangzhou airport last week. China claims the writer has been detained because he posed a threat to national security, and the Chinese authorities said that the officials from Australia have not yet been able to meet Yang.
人员杨军因为涉嫌从事危害中国国家安全犯罪活动，北京市国家安全局近期依法对他采取了强制措施进行审查。
Australia, meanwhile, has said that the country is concerned over the detention of its citizens as well.
I expect to have been given that kind of notice about Mr. Young's detention within 3 days. It took 4 days for that to be provided to Australia. Obviously, that is disappointing, and we'll be raising that too with Chinese government officials. In terms of Mr. Young's welfare, it's not immediately apparent that that's had any impact on it, but obviously that's the kind of information that we're trying to access.
And Yang Hengzhu is a spy, novelist and online commentator. He was a Chinese diplomat before he became the Australian citizen. Yang's friends said that the 52-year-old blogger had been living in New York as a visiting scholar at Columbia University. Yang had returned to China last week with his wife and the 14-year-old stepdaughter. Tensions have mounted between China and Western nations since the arrest of the Huawei executive in Canada last month. This episode was followed by the detention of 2 Canadians working in China. Well, news from India, and India's Central Bureau of Investigation has registered an FIR against the former top banker Chanda Kochhar and her husband Deepak Kochhar. Now, there are allegations that the accused sanctioned loans to private companies as part of a conspiracy to cheat ICICI Bank. India's premier investigating agency conducted searches at Mumbai and Aurangabad, headquarters of the private company that was granted the loan. Senior CBI officials told reporters that the action against the two comes after preliminary inquiry was conducted to determine if any wrongdoing was involved in sanctioning of loans by ICICI Bank as part of a consortium.